Hi, and welcome to another 5-minute UAD tip. Today we're going to take a look at how the new UAD Fairchild 660 and 670 compressor limiters can pump up the character and vibe on instruments, vocals, and mixes. Hailing from the age of vinyl mastering in the 1950s, the Fairchild compressors are among the most renowned pieces of recording gear in history. Their tubes and transformers produce dynamics control ranging from transparent to absolutely crushing. And now the 660 and 670 compressor limiters in the Fairchild Tube Limiter plug-in collection put the sound of these incredible machines right at your fingertips. Despite the number of controls on these plugins, it's pretty simple to get a good sound right away. Let's start with the Fairchild 670 plug-in on a drum bus to explore some of its different colors. Used as a gentle bus compressor, the 670 adds a nice cohesion to the drums. Starting with the factory default setting, the input gain and threshold will produce unity gain with no compression, but already the tube input and output circuits are adding warmth. It defaults to stereo mode, so it acts like a typical stereo compressor and works on both sides without moving the stereo image. The time constant is set to 5, which is a fast 200 microsecond attack and variable release time of 2 to 10 seconds depending on the program material. This is a good time constant to use for really smooth and transparent level control. From here, let's take the threshold down a bit until we see the meter moving downward 3 to 5 dB and start hearing the compressor engage. The compressor is riding the signal constantly in the -3 to 5 dB range, so we'll use the output gain to make up the level and use the on-off switch to compare the differences. This kind of setting is perfect for controlling dynamics and thickening the sound of the drums. It rounds off the transients of the snare and gives it a nice classic feel. Next, let's do some aggressive compression on the same drums and make them really slam. For this effect, you want a fast attack and release, so set the time constant to 1, which is 200 microseconds attack and 300 milliseconds release. Because the release time is fixed, we can dig in deeper with the threshold and get the same amount of compression. So we'll set it to around 7. Listen to how the snare really pops and the reverb tails come out. Next, we'll crush the drums further using the Headroom set screw, which can make the Fairchild run hotter. Leaving all the other settings the way they are, turn the Headroom up 1 click. Now we're really smashing the drums. Of course, we can easily bring back some of the punch of the kick and snare by using the Sidechain filters. Just roll the Sidechain up so it leaves the low frequencies alone, and hear how you still get the smash of the compressor, but keep the edge of the kick and snare. Another way to preserve transients is to use the mix control, which makes it really easy to do parallel compression without having to set up a separate bus. Now, say you really do want it to go to 11. Well, the threshold only goes to 10, but if you kick up the Headroom all the way, you can take it way past 10 and get an incredibly compressed sound, which could be really useful on breaks and other special effects. Okay, enough drums for now. Let's see what we can do for the bass. For this, we'll use the 660 plugin, which is a mono version with slightly different characteristics. Let's start again with the default setting and begin by containing the dynamics of the bass. We'll use the 5 time constant again and take the threshold down to where we get 3 to 5 dB of compression and use the output for makeup gain. This evens out all the notes and gives them a little more duration. When we bring the drums back in, they feel pretty good together. Going a little further with the bass, we can add some nice pleasant distortion to help it cut through. We'll take the input gain all the way up and back off the threshold and set the time constant to 1 so it recovers quickly, and boost the Headroom control so we're intentionally driving the circuit into distortion. Now, let's do something cool and add some rhythmic pumping and breathing to the piano. This is a great track to demonstrate how compression can be used to enhance rhythm and really make stuff groove. Again, starting from the default setting, we want to use the fast attack and release time constant and really squeeze it by setting the threshold to 9 or 10. But when you just set the threshold super low like that, you'll notice you lose the rhythmic definition. To gain back the pulse, we're going to roll back the DC threshold control so the knee is a little sharper. Now, since the threshold is effectively raised and we have less compression, we'll dial up the headroom to drive the circuit harder and get our compression back. And lastly, we'll restore the level with the output control. And there you go, a totally driving and vibey rhythm piano track. Here's the before and after. The 670 was originally designed as a mastering compressor, so let's put it all together and hear it on the master fader of the entire mix. For this, we'll use a gentle and transparent setting and make it gel like the record. Very cool. There's a reason the Fairchild 660 and 670 are among the most recognizable compressor limiters in the world. They sound simply amazing. And now you can afford to have these $50,000 heavyweights in your rack, thanks to the Fairchild Tube Limiter plug-in collection, only from Universal Audio.